In the beginning, there was nothing. The universe was formless, void, and in chaotic darkness. Then, the chaos gathered into a cosmic egg, and incubated for 18,000 years. While this time passed, the opposing forces of yin and yang constantly battled each other, until they achieved perfect harmony and balance. From the union of yin and yang, a primordial being was formed. As this being grew in size, the space inside the cosmic egg became too little for him. After 18,000 years, the egg hatched, and out of the egg, a hairy giant emerged. Pangu, the furry titan, the very first of the gods, the embodiment of the cosmic creation force. Pangu began crafting the universe as he saw fit. With the swing of his giant axe, he separated yin from yang, yin becoming the murky earth, and yang becoming the clear skies. To keep them separated, Pangu stood between them, pushing up the skies for another 18,000 years. Some say he was aided in this arduous feat by 4 ancient beasts: the turtle, the phoenix, the qilin, and the dragon. The skies grew 10 feet higher each day, the earth 10 feet thicker, and Pangu 10 feet taller. After the 18,000 years had passed, Pangu became exhausted from his task, laying down to sleep, to awaken no more. He died in his sleep. Pangu's breath became the mists, the winds and clouds, his voice became thunder, his sweat became rain, his left eye became the sun, and his right eye, the moon. His head became the mountains, the hair on his face became the stars, his fur became the bushes and forests, and the fleas on his fur became animals. His blood became the rivers and oceans, his muscles became fertile land, his bones became the minerals of the earth, and his bone marrow became the precious jewels. Pangu sacrificed himself to create the universe. He is also called Pangu, and had no children or family. Except for the company of his celestial friends, the dragon, the phoenix, the turtle, and the qilin, Pangu lived in solitude for his entire existence. When the universe was created by Pangu, and the world, born from his death, a new set of gods began to manifest. With the demise of the great Titan, there had to be other celestial forces that would oversee the creation and ensure the universe remained in order. However, as the immortals emerged, so did monsters, so did demons. The demons grew stronger each day, the monsters ravaged the lands, while the gods and immortals grew helpless and terrified. The world was slowly descending back into chaos. To liberate the world from terror and sufferings, one of the immortal ones, the Jade Emperor, went into retreat and meditation to harness the powers of light, passing 3,200 trials, each trial lasting 3 million years. But to ensure the world remained in darkness, one of the demons also went into retreat and meditation to increase its power, also passing 3,200 trials, and each trial equally lasting 3 million years. At the end of the retreat, the Jade Emperor and the Demon King returned. Light and darkness reappeared, the two more powerful than ever. They battled for the fate of the universe, and in the end, light emerged victorious, not by might, but by benevolence. With the Demon King defeated, the rest of the demons were scattered by the gods, while the Jade Emperor was proclaimed the supreme ruler for his noble deeds. The Jade Emperor presided over the celestial realms of China. He was the ruler of the heavens, the earth and the underworld, the emperor of the universe, and lord of the imperial court. He is also called Tiangong, which means heavenly grandfather. Now while it is believed that the Jade Emperor manifested from Pangu, there are few stories that say different. That he was once human, before he ascended into godhood. In one version, the Jade Emperor was a clever soldier, called Deng Lai, who fought and died in a bloody civil war, during the Zhou dynasty. When he woke up in the afterlife, he found himself in the celestial court. where his commander was awarding positions of honor to all the great soldiers who died in the war. The commander awarded all the men positions in the celestial court, all except Deng Lai. As the commander was about to crown himself the Jade Emperor, reflecting on the huge responsibility he would be taking on, and to savor the moment, he paused and said the word, Deng Lai, which meant, hold on a moment. Seeing this as a great opportunity, the clever Deng Lai stepped forward, for he had heard his name. Pretending to be ignorant of what his commander really meant, Deng Lai accepted the position of Jade Emperor. The commander was left speechless, but nothing could be done. He had indeed called Deng Lai's name, so Deng Lai was blameless. In the other version, the Jade Emperor was born of a virgin mother. A chaste queen prayed for a son to succeed the throne of her old and dying husband, and as she slept one night, she had a vision, after which she became pregnant. When the baby was born, he was already able to speak and walk, growing to be so just and kind. The boy assumed the throne at his father's death, and dedicated himself to helping the poor. The kingdom flourished throughout his reign, and when he grew tired of the mundane world, he left the throne to a worthy successor, embarking on the path of meditation and philosophy. He achieved enlightenment after many years of study, and gaining the secret to immortality, he became a powerful being. He became the Jade Emperor, the Emperor of Emperors. His fairness and benevolence, serving as an example to all emperors of China. Once upon a time, a strong wind blew upon the magical rock of Mount Wagu, and behold, a peculiar monkey was born from the rock. Great golden beams of light shot out of his eyes when he first opened them, and even as a baby monkey, he was already able to walk and speak. His name was son Wukong. Wukong found and lived with other monkeys in the forest, where he became king of the monkeys shortly after. The monkeys had decided to play a game, that whoever was brave enough to jump through the waterfalls and find its source would be named the king of monkeys. With the speed of light, Wukong traveled through the falls and found the stream's source, earning himself the title Monkey King. Wukong went on to battle numerous demons and monsters. He had extraordinary strength and abilities. He could transform himself into 72 different animals and objects. He could manipulate the elements, and each strand of his hair possessed transformative powers. When time came for the kings of hell to collect Wukong's soul, the monkey would not give in. He erased his name from the Book of Life and Death, along with the names of other monkeys, then tricked the god of death and the underworld, Yan Wang, into allowing him to return to Earth without reincarnation. Yan Wang reported this incident to the heavens, to the Jade Emperor, for Wukong was disrupting the balance of life. The Jade Emperor invited Wukong to dwell in heaven with the other gods, but assigned him to the lowest rank, to guard the heavenly horses. He was excluded from all important ceremonies, and knowing the other gods would not see him as an equal, because he was a monkey, Wukong became rebellious. He caused trouble after trouble in heaven, and each time the Jade Emperor sent an army of celestials to arrest him, Wukong defeated them all. Seeing that the monkey was more powerful than he imagined, the Jade Emperor promoted him to the guardian of the heavenly peaches of immortality. But Wukong was not satisfied. Having always sought immortality, and also in an act of rebelliousness, Wukong ate the peaches. He did not just eat a few peaches. No, he ate them all the peaches, emptying the entire celestial garden. Infuriated, the Jade Emperor again sent an army of 100,000 celestials to subdue Wukong, but as usual, Wukong defeated them all. Frustrated, the Emperor implored the help of the Buddha to punish this pain of a monkey. The Buddha banished Wukong from the heavens, imprisoning him under a great mountain for 500 years, so he would reflect on his mischievous deeds. After 500 long years, a Buddhist monk named Tang Sanzang found the trapped Monkey King and offered to release him, If only he, Wukong, would repent and become his disciple. Not wanting to spend another second underneath the mountain, Wukong agreed. But to ensure Wukong stayed true to his word, the goddess of mercy, Guanyin, gifted the Buddhist monk a magical headband that gave him control over the Monkey King. Thus, the freed Wukong traveled with Sanzang from China to India in search of the holy texts, protecting the humble monk from harm and demons who sought his soul throughout the journey. At last, the Monkey King achieved enlightenment through the teachings of the monk, his new master, putting an end to his mischievous and angry ways. In Japan, Son Wukong is known as Son Goku. Erlang Shen, the miraculous sage of the Red City, the greatest warrior of heaven, the one who defeated the invincible Monkey King. Erlang Shen was one of the 7 elite sages of heaven. He was the nephew of the Jade Emperor, the commander of the Celestial Army, and also capable of many transformations. When no one seemed a worthy opponent for the Monkey King, Erlang Shen proved to be a match. When no one could outsmart the Monkey King, Erlang Shen did. Once upon a time, Son Wukong, the Monkey King, wreaked so much havoc in heaven that all the Celestials were eager to see him arrested. Every time the Jade Emperor sent an army of 100,000 Celestials against him, Wukong single-handedly defeated them all, time and time again. Alas, when Wukong ate all the heavenly peaches of immortality, all hell broke loose. The peaches of immortality were the sacred peaches of the goddess, Xiwangmu, which ripened only once every 3,000 years, and were served to mortals who lived heroic lives, to grant them immortality in the afterlife. Now, because Wukong had eaten all the peaches, no immortals could be made for another 3,000 years. Do you see the gravity of Wukong's offense? The Jade Emperor, ruler of the heavens, did not take this outrageous act lightly, and once again sent an army of 100,000 Celestials, 28 constellations, and 4 heavenly lords, to subdue the Monkey King. But this time, he also sent the warrior sage, Erlang Shen, and the teenage god, Nezha, along with the troops. Just as expected, Wukong again easily defeated the celestial troops, until only Erlang Shen was left. When the two engaged in battle, the Monkey King quickly realized he had met his match. With every different animal or object Wukong transformed into, Erlang Shen equally transformed. Yes, like Wukong, Erlang Shen was capable of 72 different transformations. Their duel continued for a long time. Neither of the two agreed to back down. Erlang Shen was obviously stronger, but Wukong was smarter and quicker, and so constantly managed to outwit him. Seeing he could not defeat Wukong alone, Erlang Shen called upon his brothers, the elite sages, while Wukong transformed into a fish and swam away to Mount Wagu, where he then transformed into a temple, in an attempt to deceive the approaching sages. When the sages got to Mount Wagu, Erlang Shen used his third eye to see through the Monkey King's glamour. Then, another battle began. Wukong was fierce and strong, but the collective power of the 7 sages outmatched him this time. Hurling his golden ring at Wukong, one of the elite, Lao Zi, struck him at the head. Snarling and growling, Erlang Shen's dog bit him at the leg. Then Erlang Shen delivered the final blow that brought Wukong down. Alas, the fearsome Monkey King had finally been subdued. What a relief Erlang Shen had brought to the heavens. Xiwangmu, the Ancient One, the Queen Mother of the West, the guardian of Taoist women. She who tended to the peaches of immortality, who had control over life and death, she who manipulated the occurrence of disasters. Once upon a time, in a dark remote mountain of China, there lived a wild female demon, who plagued the lands with calamities and disasters. After many years of terrorizing the earth, the demon grew sorry for the destruction she had caused, and repented from her evil ways. She achieved enlightenment thereafter, and ascended into godhood, becoming a powerful goddess. This demon is Xiwangmu, and this is how she came to be. Xiwangmu united with the Jade Emperor in marriage, with whom she had numerous children. She represented the untamable feminine energy of yin, while her husband represented the rational masculine energy of yang. The Queen Mother of the West was a nature goddess, who resided in the wilds, in the heavenly garden of the Jade Emperor's palace, where she tended to the peaches of immortality. The peaches of immortality were very dear to her heart, and ripened once every 3,000 years. So you could imagine her dismay when Wukong, the Monkey King, ate all her peaches, sparing not a single one, just when the peaches were ripe and ready to be plucked, just when she was preparing to serve them to deceased heroes, who have passed on to the afterlife, heroes who would then become immortal, dwelling eternally in heavenly paradise, as a reward for their heroic deeds. Xiwangmu is also known as Jinmu, and famously wore a headdress, with her dear peaches hanging from it. She determined the lifespan of every living being, and is a talented weaver, who weave the stars into the skies every single night. Beyond the mists of the skies, at the heart of the vast cosmos, shines the bright sun, illuminating the earth from far above. Long time ago, in the land of China, in a time of myths, there was not just one sun, which gave light to the earth. There were 10 suns. One by one, the 10 suns crossed the skies each day, commanded by the Jade Emperor that only one could come out at a time, lest they burn the earth. One fateful day, however, disobeying the law of the Emperor, the 10 suns came out all at once to play, destroying vegetation and scorching the lands. Plants and animals started to die, the waters dried up, mankind began to perish, the earth was turning into ashes. From his celestial throne, the Jade Emperor looked down upon this horror, trying to call the suns to their senses, all to no avail. Turning to his immortals, he asked which one of them would give up their godhood to save the earth. There, after a long pause, the Lord Archer stepped forward, dressed in animal skin and clad in armor. His name was Hou Yi. Giving up his immortality, Hou Yi became human to save mankind from destruction. Descending on top of a high mountain, Hou Yi pleaded with the suns to back off, but they would not relent. He tried to reason with them, but they would see no reason. With his large bow, made from tiger bones, and arrows, crafted from dragon tendons, Hou Yi aimed at the suns, and one by one, he shot them down, until only one was left. Turning into one-legged ravens, the 9 fallen suns perished. Drawing another arrow, Hou Yi aimed at the 10th one, but the mother of the 10 sons cried out in a loud voice, begging him to stop, for by eliminating the last of the sons, the world would be plunged into eternal darkness. Thus, the earth came to have only one sun. This is the myth of Hou Yi and the 10 sons. The hero wandered the earth, slaying monsters, and one day, he met a very beautiful woman, whom he married. The woman had skin as pale as snow, hair as black as the night, and lips as red as rose. Her name was Chang'e. To reward the hero for saving the earth, the celestial queen, Xiwangmu, gave him the elixir of immortality, so he could return to the heavens once again as a god. But this only left the hero confused, for he loved his wife dearly. He could not leave her behind while he returned to the heavens, and Chang'e herself could not bear to see her beloved husband go. So the couple decided to hide the elixir away, till they came up with a good use for it. One day, however, when Hou Yi was out hunting, a monster broke into their house, in search of the immortality potion. Chang'e could not fight this gigantic monster, yet she could not let him get his evil hands on the potion. Dashing to the place they hid the elixir, Chang'e quickly took the jar, and drank its contents. As soon as she did this, Chang'e began rising in the air, with gentle white light radiating from her floating figure. There, she ceased being mortal, she ceased being flesh and blood, she had become a deity. Chang'e drifted far into the skies, onto the moon, where she became known thenceforth as the Moon Goddess. Hou Yi was saddened by this incident. When he returned, he could no longer come home to the loving embrace of his wife, but he knew her transformation was for a good cause. Not wanting to remain on Earth anymore, the hero rose into the skies, and built his palace in the fiery sun. On the 15th day of every lunar month, the husband and wife meet again. Hou Yi, traveling from his palace in the sun, to the moon palace, where his wife now lived. This is the story of Hou Yi and Chang'e. Nezha, the third Lotus Prince, the teenage god of youthfulness and all its misdemeanors, the patron deity of drivers, the god of quick travels. Once upon a time, in the Shang dynasty, a godly child was born. The wife of a military commander had been pregnant for a very long time, and after 3 years and 6 months of pregnancy, she gave birth to something unusual. The woman was known as Lady Yin, and her husband's name was Li Jing. Lady Yin went into labor on a fateful day, and lo, she gave birth to a red meaty ball of flesh. Fearing his wife had just brought forth a demon, Li Jing took up his sword, and slashed the ball of flesh with the sword, in an attempt to kill this demon. But as soon as the sword cut the ball open, behold, a full-grown boy leapt out of it, greeting his startled parents with a gentle bow. His name was Nezha. Nezha's parents were too shocked to move or say anything, just staring at their newborn son with fear and uncertainty. There, a Buddhist monk, an immortal sage, named Hou Yi and Ren, who had helped in the child delivery, stepped in, assuring the startled couple that there was nothing to fear, for they had been blessed with an extraordinary child, a deity made flesh. Nezha was the youngest of 3 children. His elder brother was called Miao, and the eldest, Jinja. A godly child indeed, Nezha was. He had extraordinary strength and speed. He could already speak and walk. At birth, he was bright and brilliant, but he was also unruly and carefree. To inculcate in him good virtues and conduct, the Buddhist monk, Zen Ren, took him under his wing as a disciple. One day, Nezha was playing in the sea, when he saw a little dragon prince, who asked to play with him. How excited Nezha was, for none of the children in the land would play with him, due to his strange birth. So of course, he was happy to play with this little dragon prince, whose name was Bang, and who was the child of the East Sea Dragon King, Guan. They started a mock battle, a play fight, and unaware of his extraordinary strength, Nezha accidentally killed his dragon friend. Infuriated by the death of his son, the Dragon King of the East Sea poured down rain from the heavens, threatening to drown all of China, if Nezha was not put to death for what he had done. To save his people, and to pay for his crime, Nezha killed himself, and gave his remains to the Dragon King, after which the Dragon King was appeased, and the flood stopped. However, Nezha's spirit found he could not cross into the afterlife. He was trapped in the mundane world, and roamed the lands, restless. He appeared to his mother, and asked her to build a temple in his name, so he could find a resting place in that temple. Happy her son was not really gone, Lady Yin did as she was told, constructing a temple, where Nezha's spirit quickly inhabited. But Nezha's father felt he had brought too much shame and dishonor to the family, and so destroyed the temple, thereby stranding the little spirit again. Restless once more, Nezha's spirit was filled with rage, and swore to kill his father. Meanwhile, the sage, Zhen Ren, who had grown so fond of the young Nezha, found a way to bring him back to life, by putting his soul into a body made from the roots of Lotus. Thus, Nezha was reborn and back to life. The monk gifted him a spear with a fiery tip to use for battle, and a pair of wheels of wind fire to travel at great speeds. Then, he set out to carry out his murderous intent, to kill his father. When Li Jing saw Nezha coming, the old man fled for his dear life. He set up his second son, Nezha, to defend him from his pursuer, but Nezha easily killed his elder brother, and continued for his father. Nezha cornered his father, till he had no more place to hide. As he was about to kill the old man, two Buddhas appeared before him, Winshu Quangfa and Random Daorin. The Buddhas appealed to Nezha to have mercy on his father, for killing one's parent was a grave sin. Nezha listened, and spared his father's life. He realized there was no honor in his actions, and let go of his murderous rage. He reached enlightenment, and attained full godhood. No longer the unruly child they once knew, Nezha became the protector of teenagers. Nuwa, the half-snake half-woman deity, the great goddess of order, the mother and creator of mankind, the patron of marriage, fertility, and childbirth. The elder gods came into existence when the death of Pangu brought forth the universe, and Nuwa was one of these gods. After spending a while in the heavens, she came down to explore the young empty earth. Because there was no life form on earth, aside vegetation, Nuwa became lonely shortly after. She laid down by a pool one day, and began to create creatures that looked like herself, out of clay and water. For the first 6 days, she created 6 different animals: the chicken, the dog, the bull, the sheep, the cow, and the horse. While on the 7th day, she began to create humans. Nuwa realized it took a great deal of time and effort to mold enough humans that would populate the earth, so she took a nearby rope, some say a branch, dipped it into the mud, and flung it around her. As the droplets of mud touched the ground, they transformed into little men, coming to life. The humans crafted by Nuwa's hands would become the rich, the lords, the kings, and the emperors, while those born from the droplets would become the poor, the ordinary, the lowlifes, and the average. Satisfied with her creation, Nuwa returned to the heavens, but to her dismay, all would not be well. She looked down one day to see the roaring waves of the seas clashing with the raging flames of fire. The waters tried to stuff out the flames, and the fiery flames tried to dry up the waters. It was a battle between two elemental gods, Gong, a water god, and Jurong, a fire god. The water god lost the battle, and furious at his defeat, he bashed his head against the mythical mountain of Buzu. Alas, the Buzu mountain was no ordinary mountain, for it was one of the 4 great pillars that held up the universe, and because the water god had shattered it while throwing a tantrum, one side of the heavens burst open and fell into the earth, releasing the wildest fires, the most ferocious monsters, and the greatest floods the world had ever seen. Many lives were lost, some of them burnt by the fires, some of them drowned by the floods, and some of them eaten by monsters. Nuwa swung into action before all her children and creation would be wiped out. Using the 5 elements of water, earth, fire, air, and wood, she created a magical mixture, which she used to patch up the skies. But it wasn't enough. She visited the ancient giant turtle, to seek his advice. This giant turtle was one of the 4 friends of the ancient Pangu, and one of the oldest beings in the universe. The turtle thought for a while. Then, in an act of selflessness, he gave up his legs to replace the pillar the water god had destroyed. With the pillar restored, the goddess slew some of the attacking monsters, scaring off the rest. Then she burnt a huge quantity of reeds, using the ashes to stop the raging floods. Nuwa went into deep sleep afterward, a state of eternal rest. Saving her children had drained so much of her life force. They say the goddess had an assistant. Some say it was her brother and husband. His name was Fuxi. Fuxi was the god of creativity, the god of civilization and innovation, the benefactor of mankind. After Nuwa repaired the heavens and saved her children, the humans, from destruction, Fuxi blessed them with the gifts of creativity, invention, and innovation. He gave them civilization and taught them how to fend for themselves. Some say Fuxi came from Pangu, while others say he was a first-generation human being that existed at the creation of the world. Once upon a time, in this alternate story of the first-generation humans, they say human beings already came into existence just after the world was created by Pangu. Here, Nuwa was not a god, but one of these humans. She was not an immortal, but flesh and blood, a mere mortal. Alas, these first humans drew the ire of the heavens with their atrocious acts. Thus, when they could no longer be tolerated, a great flood was sent to wipe out all of mankind. Nuwa and Fuxi were the only survivors of this great flood. They got to the mythical mountains of Kunlun to seek the advice of the heavens on whether they should get married and repopulate the earth with a new set of human beings. They lit 2 fires on 2 different mountains, one far apart from the other. If their smoke went up straight, it meant their union was not approved, but if their smoke intertwined, it meant their union was approved. The smoke from the 2 fires intertwined, so Nuwa and Fuxi got married, bringing forth an offspring thereafter. They cut up the child and scattered the pieces across the world, and men and women began to emerge from the pieces. A new human race had been born. Guanyin, the all-seeing, the all-hearing, the embodiment of compassion, the goddess of mercy. She who hears the voices of the suffering, call upon her in the time of despair and fear, and thou shalt see, Guanyin will come forth. Although a female, she could take on the form of a male when she pleased, and before she became a goddess, she was once a young girl whose name was Shan. Once upon a time, little Shan was born to King Zhuang of Chu and his wife, Lady Yin. As soon as she learned how to speak, she started to chant Buddhist sutras. When she had grown into a lady, her father arranged her marriage to a wealthy lord. But Shan had no desire to marry. She wanted to become a Buddhist nun. Her father insisted, yet Shan remained adamant, saying she would only agree on 3 conditions: that her marriage would alleviate the suffering of the sick, the suffering that comes with age, and the suffering of death. Her conditions could not be met, and so Shan was allowed to join a Buddhist temple, where her father instructed the monks to give her the hardest chores, allowing her no rest. Also she would change her mind. But Shan went about her work happily and diligently. She became so loved that all the forest animals began to help her with her numerous chores. Furious that his plan didn't work, her father ordered that the temple be burned down. But Shan went forth and put off the burning flames with her bare hands. Now afraid his daughter was some kind of demon, the king condemned her to death. But on the day of execution, even their weapons would not hurt Shan. As the executioner brought down his axe upon her neck, the axe broke into pieces. When he tried to impale her with his sword, the sword shattered into 1,000 shards. And when he shot at her with his arrows, the arrows all flew off course. The executioner became frustrated and afraid. If he couldn't kill the girl, it would mean his own death. Seeing the executioner's dilemma, Mao Shan forgave him and allowed herself to be executed. She then absorbed his karma, so he would not have to pay for his crimes in the afterlife. When she got to the underworld, the gloomy realm came to life and light, blossoming all around with beautiful flowers. As she saw the poor souls condemned forever in the underworld, Mao Shan released all the good karma she had accumulated, cleansing the souls of their damnation and freeing them from hell. The king of hell, Yan Wang, was bewildered by this incident, and afraid Mao Shan would put an end to his gloomy kingdom. He quickly sent her back to Earth, where she became an enlightened being, where she became Guanyin. Guanyin continued her acts of compassion, healing, wisdom, and mercy. Her earthly father would later fall sick with jaundice, which all medicine would fail to cure. She would heal him of his sickness, and ashamed of his ways, the old man would beg for her forgiveness, building her a magnificent temple on the fragrant mountain afterward. While on Earth, Guanyin would come to have 2 disciples, Shamkai and Long Nu. She was always worshipped as the patron of sailors and fishermen, for from the heights of the mountains where she meditated, she would always calm the raging seas whenever boats and ships were threatened by the angry waves. After she had gone to the heavens, she would gift the Buddhist monk, Tan Sanzang, a magical crown to subdue the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. The Marquis of Hanshao village, the great god of war. Wielding the green dragon crescent blade, he stood at a height of 9 chi, and had 2 long beard. His face was the color of a dark sow, with lips that were red and plump. His eyes were like those of a crimson phoenix, and his eyebrows resembled reclining silkworms. He had a dignified air, and looked majestic. His name was Guan Yu. Guan Yu was a military general, who served under his good friend and warlord, Liu Bei, during the late Eastern Han dynasty of China. He was known for his might and battle skills. When Guan Yu rode onto the battlefield, he conquered any foe, he vanquished their armies. Guan Yu won many wars for his state and province. His strength and skills were unlike any other they had ever seen, that even when captured in a war, a rival would dare not kill this man. Recognizing how mighty he was, they would give him control of their armies and charge him with defending their territories instead. When Guan Yu fought, no other would stand. The victory was his. The spoils were for his province. A loyal friend, he also was, for he defended his comrade, Liu Bei, till his dying days. Guan Yu lived and died like a true warrior he was, after many victories and exploits, and when old age began to tell on him, he would be captured in a war and executed afterwards. But that mattered little. It was not the end for Guan Yu, for his great achievements would forever immortalize him as the Chinese god of war.